What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a SMITE tier list for you guys, and this is going to be for season 8 of SMITE, and it's going to be for the mid role in Conquest, and I'm mainly going to be doing the mages because it's mainly mages that are played in the mid lane in Conquest, and I'm basically going to be ranking them in terms of damage, mobility, sustainability, early game, team fights, and then just like an overall rank, and then I'm going to put them in tiers from S to E, where S is the best, E is the worst. And obviously, like all SMITE tier lists, this is based off my opinion, or whoever's making it, it's based off their opinion. How I found playing with each of these gods, I'm going to rank them in that order as well, because some gods are really easy to beat compared to other gods. I'm also going to mention the gods that I main, and why I main them, and why I think they're really good, and basically how you play them. And yeah, that's how I'm going to be basically ranking them. And just for you guys, in case I need to explain any specific god, I've got this tab open over here. So in case I need to go to a god's abilities or passive or whatever, I'm going to use this tab over here just to go through it. And yeah, without further ado, I think we should get into it. It's going to be a longer video than usual, just because it is a tier list. If you disagree with anything, if you want me to put something higher, feel free to mention it in the comments below. I'm always open to people's suggestions and opinions. But this is just, a lot of the time, I say, oh, this god is OP, and then you use it in a Conquest game, and people are like, oh my god, he's so good, and I'm like, yeah, he's good. A lot of people just don't realize it. But if you play the god properly, then they're going to be definitely really good. Quite a few gods I'm pretty sure are going to be from A to B, just because A is going to be good in mid lane, B is going to be a bit worse than good, S is going to be the OP gods, which you'll see in a bit who they are. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So Agni, firstly, in terms of damage, I would rate him pretty high. I think I'd give him an A/B. Definitely his ult is really good in teamfights, especially if you have all three of them up. His burst can be crazy. You can do your ult, stun them with your 1, run past them with your 3, and then damage them with your 2, and that burst will be really good in terms of damage. In terms of mobility, again, he's got an escape. He's got his 3 as an escape. So that would be a A/B escape I'd put in, just because like it's not like a teleport like Merlin. So that's why I put it in like an A/B tier. Sustainability, I would put as one of the worst, because he doesn't have any sustainability. He doesn't have any built-in lifesteal or healing that gods like, I don't know, Baron, Anubis, Aokwang, Sol, you know, they have built-in healing. So in terms of sustainability, I'd say he's not the best, which is one of the reasons why I don't like. I prefer playing gods that have sustainability built in, because it just makes your early game a lot better. Which actually brings me on to early game. You're probably going to be starting with your 2, because you don't want to be using your 3 to run into the lane. So in terms of the early game, I don't think it's the best early game compared to other gods. So I'd have to put that in like a B/C/D. Secondly, I'm not a big fan of his 2. I just feel like it doesn't go far enough, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, it feels like a really short place to like throw your 2, the wave of fire, and I've never been a big fan of that. You know, it always feels like you can hit an enemy, but you actually can't, and you need to be really close, which again makes the early game harder, because you need to go really close to the wave to clear it. And yeah, that just makes it really annoying for me to play Agni. And pretty much he just becomes good after he gets his ult, and even then he can only properly fight when he has his ult. And when he doesn't have his ult, yeah, his 3 he's got to keep for an escape, unless you're 100% sure that you're going to run in and you're going to kill that person. And his 2, yeah, it's really average ability. Definitely wouldn't rate it too high. Team fight potential late game, definitely I'd put in A tier. When everyone's fighting, you can just throw your meteors in, use your 1 as a stun. When you stun 2-3 people in the enemy team, that's just going to be really good for the team to just attack them and beat them, and then you'll easily get a team wipeout. So definitely A tier in terms of team fighting. And then overall, I think we can check his cooldowns. Obviously, I've not memorized everyone's cooldowns. His passive is decent as well. His cooldown is 12, 15, and 15, and then these are obviously based on his timer or whatever. So in general, his cooldowns are okay. They're not too long, you know, like Susanoo's got 16-second cooldowns on one eye, which is really annoying. So in general, I would place Agni. It's a tough one. It's either a B or a C, because he's definitely not an A. I'm gonna put him in C. If he had some type of sustainability, I'll put him in B. But just because he doesn't, and I just find it really easy to like. So his escape is really good, but it's a tough one. I might change it throughout the video based on where I put the other gods. You know, if I put another god in C that I think Agni is better than, I'll change Agni to B tier. But I guess if you want to see the final tier list, you can just skip to the end of the video, really, if you want. So Agni for me is a C tier. Next we go into Outwash. Again, let's go through all the things. So damage, definitely up there. A could be an S tier, but the burst is definitely there. So the damage is definitely there. So that's like a S/A. He has a lot of damage. Then again, it is a matter of hitting it. His 3 is really good poke as well. Mobility, he has 0. He has no escape. And he does have like a slow if he hits people with his 1. But just the thing I hate the most about gods like, I don't know, Alposh or Anubis or Zeus is once they're caught, they're dead. And once you're dead, you've fed the enemy. Because that'll constantly keep happening. They know they can like bully you. So mobility 0, that's like an E. Sustainability, yeah, he's got that. He's got his corpses that heal him and give him mana. So that is really good for him. And can just help you stay in lane for a long time. Not to mention that if you get mana and you build like a Book of Thoth, you probably could be going plus in mana. And you'll have no issue with mana and healing in lane. Whereas if we go on to move from sustainability to the early game, he definitely isn't that good in like the first 2-3 minutes when he has one ability. Until he's like level 2, you'll obviously start with your 1 and 2 so you can throw your corpses and explode them. So his early game is decent. He'll have that wave clear after level 2, level 3. He'll start going up the damage, and his early game will be better. But in terms of early game in Conquest, I don't think it's the best because, yes, he can clear wave, but when the assassin ganks mid lane early game, Outwash doesn't have an escape, and then he'll find it pretty difficult to go out of that fight, and then you probably will die early game, whether it's the mid lane or the assassin, and from there they just start snowballing you, and that is pretty much the end of your game. Team fights, his ult is definitely good, so the reason I'd say he's good in team fights is obvious. A lot of the time, the enemy team does have a healer, whether it's a Yamoja, Aphrodite, Baron, whatever. So if they got a healer, his 3 is good for the team fights because whenever they're healed, even by like Sylvanos, they'll be stunned after the heal. You usually build a gem on Outpush, so if you're in a team fight, you can ult. It's a pretty big rectangle shape area for of his ult, so whoever's hit by his ult, number 1, they'll obviously be damaged. Number 2, if you have a gem, so they'll be slowed and they'll have reduced healing. And if you build a divine, so Outpush is really good in team fights to stop enemy healing, which is definitely like an S tier, I guess, skill or ability that he has in team fights. So definitely really good in terms of team fight. Overall, the good and bad things about him, or the worst thing about him is his mobility. He has like none of it. If you get gem, you probably have a bit more mobility, but it's not your mobility, it's just you slowing the enemy down. Cooldowns, definitely one of Alposh's strong suits, because if he builds cooldown and he eats his corpses and it lowers his 1s and I think 3 or 2's cooldown, that is really good. And his late game is amazing. His burst damage, especially if he goes like a Karen's coin and a rod, that'll give you like 30% penetration. His late game burst will be really good, and team fights will be really good. But in terms of everything, I think I would put him in a B tier. I'm thinking again with a C tier, but I think he's definitely better than Agni in terms of fighting. Bearing in mind, I barely see any of these two. I was gonna say like a lot of the gods here, there's quite I feel like half of the mages you just don't see because they're just not like mid material. They're not good enough usually to be played in mid. But yeah, it's again I might change some throughout throughout the video. So if you want to see the final tier, let's go to the end of the video. I'm just again thinking whether I want to put Outpush in C as well, just because I feel like some gods will probably be in B. But I think in general, in terms of everything, he's really good. Yeah, so I'll put him in a B tier. Anubis damage. Yeah, okay, everyone knows he does damage. Mobility 0. He can run away and wrap someone. But again, you gotta rank that up to make it last longer. So whether you want to be ranking your too early game, definitely not. So mobility, he's got 0. Sustainability, he has S tier sustainability. His early game is good. Like he's got one of the best wave clears. His 3-1 combo. So his early game and sustainability and damage definitely there. He just doesn't have mobility. Team fights, yeah, he can put his 3 down, he can put his 1, he can ult in a team fight, and it's just really good in general. And his cooldowns aren't that long either after you build cooldown, especially late game. So the only thing he pretty much lacks is sustainability, but definitely his damage compared to like Alposh, I think his burst is like equal to Alposh, but Alposh's is more of a smaller burst, and then that's pretty much it. Whereas Anubis could probably easily kill an Alposh, so I will put Anubis in A tier. Main reason being, if you're a good Anubis player, you can just snowball easily. You just hit your rab, do your 3, do your 1, and they're pretty much dead. And if they're not, then just click 4. Secondly, he's A tier because I've seen a lot of gods. You know, if you want a backdoor, backdooring is not part of, like, the good parts about Smite, but you know, you can backdoor with Anubis, and it's really easy, and it's annoying, but that's why he's A tier. Not S tier because I just feel like there's just certain gods that are just better than him, because he doesn't have that mobility. Because if a Nox silences him, for example, he'll be beaten. Not to say that he's worse than Nox, but just, you know, really, if Baron roots you, then you're kind of finished. So yeah, I'll put him definitely in A tier. He's not broken, but he's A tier. Aokwang, he's more of a D tier. I've put him there straight away. Number 1, he's a melee, and you don't want to be a melee. I don't know why they've not made him an assassin yet, because he is basically an assassin, and he's melee. So I don't know why they've chosen to make him a mage. But the damage, he definitely has the damage, but his damage is more of a 1v1 damage rather than, I don't know, clearing a wave and whatever, and he probably have to use his whole clip to clear a wave. Mobility, he does have it. He does have obviously his invisibility, little small teleport forward that he does, which gives him some mobility, but again, it's not like Agni dash or anything. Mobility, yeah. Sustainability, no, I don't think he has any sustainability as far as I know. You need to build lifesteal on him, which a lot of people do, so he has pretty much no sustainability. Team fights, again, he's a bit like a mage low-key because he's more of a 1v1. If you're fighting as a team, yeah, he'll pick someone off, but in terms of like an Agni stun or whatever, he's not up there. And like I said, I'm going to probably be moving, so when I think about it, he's probably 2 tiers above Agni. I'm actually going to move Agni to a B tier now. But I'll still leave Aokwang at a D tier because he's not really mid material. He's more of a jungle. So yeah, that's why he's D tier. Overall, not a big fan of Aokwang. Once he's caught, or once you actually like get a hold of him after he's used his escape or whatever, that's pretty much the end for him. So yeah, that's Aokwang in D tier. Next up, we have Aphrodite. Again, this is a tough one. Like, bearing in mind this is a mid tier list I'm making, not like a general Smite tier list. Aphrodite definitely really good in solo lane, definitely really good in duo as a support. Mid lane, you don't really see much of her because I feel like people know that she's more of a solo laner or support. Mid lane, she kind of just has 2 abilities. Like, one will stun you, but a lot of the time Aphrodite is going to be using her birds to clear the wave. So her damage is not like so it's not Anubis's level, and it's definitely not Alposh and Agni's level. So she's looking like a C tier so far. Mobility, she does get a bit of movement speed from her heal, but that is about it. She does have an ult, which is an Aegis, and that's one of the main things I was going to come on to, is in mid, like a lot of the time with like a god that has a really good ult, you can just start snowballing, or if they're low, you can just ult and kill them. Aphrodite doesn't have that, so she does lack that in terms of damage as well. And then obviously we just on mobility, she just gets a bit of movement speed, but other than that there is no like mobility. Sustainability, she has a heal. Pretty self-explanatory, her birds do healing. Early game, not really the best early game, and you mean you'll have a wave clear that'll heal you, then you'll probably get your explosion next, and the early game is okay, but again, her heal is more of a late game thing. It's definitely not a massive heal early game, and it's not even a lot of damage early game either. So her early game, again, isn't probably like to Anubis' level or Agni or Alposh. Overall, her late game is really good, but at the same time, if you just build anti-heal, then that is pretty much the end of you anyway. Your heal is barely going to do anything. You'll build a cooldown if you want. You'll have your ult more often, so you'll give someone else an Aegis, which is really good for team fights. But in the general team fight, if they build anti-heal against you, Aphrodite is probably not who you'd want to be because you basically have two abilities. You can stun someone, but that's just one person, whereas Agni can stun multiple people. Alposh can like slow better, yeah. So I think Aphrodite is looking like a C tier. So this is making more sense now. So these two are definitely better than Aphrodite. I've not struggled with Aphrodite at all. To be fair, I've not struggled with Agni or Alposh either. Alposh is really good when he's aggressive, but in general, nah, not really. Baba Yaga, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I feel like she's A/B because I feel like Anubis beats her, but she's a bit better than Agni and Alposh. So damage, definitely. She's got a lot of damage, especially when, like, I don't know why, but at some point in the game, she just starts doing a lot of damage. So she definitely has that. Mobility, she does have her escape, so that is really good. Sustainability, I don't think she has any healing. We can just double check to be sure. B for Baba Yaga. I mean, she has a potion that she throws. Yeah, no healing. No healing. No healing. Yeah, not really. So she doesn't really have any sustainability. Again, she gotta get lifesteal, which makes her worse than Anubis. Her early game, yeah, it's not bad. I think it's definitely on like the middle slash like a B plus tier, I guess. Probably should have made a B plus if I'm 100% honest. Yeah. So her sustainability, nothing. Early game is decent. Not to Anubis's level. Her clear probably isn't even as good as Alposh's. But then again, the tiers are a mix of everything. You know, Agni's clear is not as good as Alposh, but Agni overall is a B. So I'd say her early game is like probably a B tier. Goes on to an A tier, I guess. But that's like a normal game. Team fight, I'd say it's a good team fight. Depending on if her different shape thing is a silence or a slow or whatever, it's a good ability to use definitely in a team fight. And her snowballing with her throwing the potions in is just really good damage. She's always good for escaping from a fight in case you know you can't win, and her ult is really good for just burning all the enemies in a team fight. Really good. So yeah, her team fight is good, but now to rate it overall in terms of cooldowns, late game, everything, she's really good, but I think she would be on the same level as an Alposh or an Agni. I have struggled with her sometimes, but that's only when I'm, I don't know, playing some god for fun. Like Zeus. Zeus is just terrible, if you ask me. He's just... Wait, we'll get onto that later. But yeah, I think I'd put her... So if you're looking at the ranking now, I'd put her in the middle here. I feel like making a new ranking now, just because... well, I don't know. Okay, she's a B+. She's better than them two, but not as good as Anubis. She's a B+. Baron. Right, so he is probably my main, if not second main in mid. He's broken. Oh, he's definitely OP. So his damage is crazy. People don't understand how crazy his damage is. He's definitely got his damage. Mobility, that's what he lacks. I was going to say that if you use his 2, which is his heal, when they have a certain amount of hysteria, then you do get all slow cleanse and a movement speed increase, which is definitely really good. But I feel like Baron is one of those gods that you don't always need that sustainability because that mobility, because A lot of the time what I do is I just place my heal on top of me, they walk into it, it heals me, I put my 3 on them, I do my 1, and they're pretty much just dead. You can see the videos. I made a montage on Baron as well. So that's why I'd put him as like a B tier for mobility, but A tier in the sense that, you know, you heal yourself. You don't always want to be running away. A bit like Anubis. His mobility isn't the best, but the reason he's A tier is because he's just got that lifesteal. Sustainability, he has all the sustainability. When you get your 3 off, your 2 and your heal is just crazy. I always get soul gem on him as well, so not only does he have lifesteal, he's got the heal from soul gem and he's got the heal from his 2. So sustainability is definitely there. Early game, I think his early game is really good. I've gotten a lot of early game kills. It's just a matter of reaching level 3, I'd say. If you can hit your root to whatever, his slow to root, his 3 basically, and do your 3-2-1 combo, the early game is definitely really good. I get a lot of first bloods with Baron really easily, and still considering level 5 as early game, you basically bait out if they have Aegis or beads, you bait it out and then you have a free kill. Again, watch my videos on Baron, I make quite a few. He's just really good, and yeah, his early game is definitely one of the better sides. Team fights, amazing. Number 1, you heal all your allies when you're in a team fight. Number 2, he's really good for team fights where if people have a certain amount of hysteria, his 3 creates like a circle around which slows and roots the people in that circle as well. So that's really good for team fights. His ult is really good for sucking multiple people in, as it is like a cone shape. So if there's 2 people running away, I've done this multiple times, where you basically suck both of them in, and it's just really, really good for your teammates to attack them while they're being sucked in because they can't run away. And yeah, in general, his cooldowns are definitely not too long, especially when you get cooldown. And his late game is amazing, especially when you get a rod. Your 3-2-1 combo pretty much one-shots everyone. And that is why, number 1, yes, I main Baron. Number 2, I am going to have to put him into S tier just because, I guess fresh from memory, my last 5 games with Baron have been amazing. I don't see Baron in a lot of S tiers, and I don't know why, because literally all the games, like, people are like, oh my god, well done, blah blah blah, you rock, and I'm always top damage, I'm always top kills, and I always tell them that, you know, I always say Baron is really good, but no one believes me. They're like, yeah, you're probably right. They're like, well, not every Baron is as good as you, whatever. I'm not trying to gas myself up or anything. I'm just trying to say that if you can hit your 3 as Baron, you can get your cooldowns. He is one of the best gods. I have killed Anubis really easily. You just get like an anti-heal. When he does his 1 and when he does his 4, he stood still. You easily hit your 3. You easily hit your 2 and 1. If you got the anti-heal sorted. If he does his ult, you got Aegis. If you don't have Aegis, use your 2. Or even go into your ult, because your ult gives you protections. I didn't even mention that, but in terms of sustainability, his ult gives him protections. So he basically has everything. He's got a speed buff, he's got his 1 that does a lot of damage, he's got a 2 that does a heal, he's got a 3 that does a slow to a root, he does an ult that sucks people in, slows them down, increases protections. So that's why Baron is definitely an S tier. He just has everything basically. So that's S tier. Chang'e, damage. She definitely has damage. I don't know anything to think about that. Her combo with doing her ult and then doing your 1, doing your 3. You basically have 3 damaging abilities. So damage is definitely there, but it's definitely not like Anubis level. I'd say it's like a B tier damage. It's all about sustainability and basically staying where you are. Mobility. I'm pretty sure if we look at Chang'e's passive, all of her abilities give her movement speed. Dance move speed, yeah. So whenever she uses one of her abilities, 25% movement speed with no back pedal penalty. Yeah, that's why when she does a slash, she goes back. So her mobility, obviously, it's not like an escape like Agony or whatever, but I think I'd still put it in like a B tier in terms of mobility, just because she has like 4 abilities and they all basically give her mobility. So yeah, B tier mobility. Sustainability, A tier. Easy, because she's got a heal basically built in, which is a 3. Early game, I'd say early game is is definitely really good on the good side. Number one, her early game is good because of her sustainability, her heal. Number two, her early game is good because of her immunity. When she basically, basically like a Ravana 2, or yeah, 2, where she basically immune and Aegis. It's an Aegis and beads built in, which definitely makes her early game really good. Even if a Baron's ulting her and she's just on the edge, she can easily become immune and go out of it. Not to mention that her ult, I'm pretty sure, makes her immune as well, so she's basically got like 2 beads built in. Her ultimate is really good for team fights. She's really good at stunning people when you're in a team fight. Her team fight is really good because you heal the people around you, which is always really good because, your team can basically fight for longer. And her late game is, overall her cooldowns aren't the longest. I've seen her spam her heal and one constantly, and her cooldowns aren't too long. In general, her late game damage is definitely really good, and in team fights is decent. So I would have to put her. The reason I'm going to put her in an A tier is because of her team healing. She's definitely like a really good solo laner as well, but yeah, it is sometimes really annoying because her immunity makes her really hard to fight against. Definitely, even if I'm a Baron, I'll struggle against her. But again, it's just a matter of baiting it out. And late game, she can just be a real pain in terms of her stun and her healing and constant slicing and movement speed. And it can be annoying to catch her. So that's why I'll put her in an A tier. Next up is Cronus. I feel like Cronus' late game. I'll start with the late game. His late game is really good. The early game is the struggle. His damage is kind of there. Again, he needs to get the rings online to actually start doing proper damage. So his damage is like very mediocre, I'd say. Very average. It's nothing like, oh my god, look at that damage. He's going to kill someone in 2 seconds. Mobility is really good. Well, he's not going to escape. But in terms of mobility, not escaping but surviving, I think that comes under sustainability actually. So mobility, he's just got his 2. He doesn't have an escape. He just gets that movement speed increase, which can help him run away. But in general, he can't escape. But mobility, in terms of moving, I'd say is definitely really good, like a B/A tier. It's really annoying sometimes to catch him because of how fast he is, and his 2 actually gives him increasing movement speed over time. So his mobility is definitely really good. Sustainability, really good again. He can get some lifesteal, but he's got healing from his 2. And his sustainability in terms of mana as well, which we can refer to. He's got his 2, a section of it which basically stops him from using mana, and regens his mana when he uses an ability. So he's very sustainable in terms of mana and health as well, because that's got heal in it as well, a bit like Sol. So I'd put him in like a B/A tier again in terms of sustainability. In terms of early game, I don't think he has the best early game. You probably start with your 1, so you'll have decent wave kind of, but once you get your 3, his 3 moves very slowly. So unlike a Baron 3, which goes really fast forward, his 3 is pretty slow, and a lot of the time easy to dodge unless he stood right next to you. But he's really good in team fights late game. So his early game, I'd say, again, is like a B/C tier. Team fighting potential, definitely really good. His 1 is good to use in team fights constantly. He has a fairly low cooldown. He's really good in team fights because he can, fight, use his ult, go back into the team fight at full health in case he does get bursted down. And his 3 in general is really good because when it stuns the enemy, your team can just kill them, or you can just kill them, and that is really good because it picks off weaker enemies in team fights, especially if someone's trying to run away like the tank. You can just burst them down with your 3 while your team attacks them. And then overall, I don't think his cooldowns are too long. His 1 is definitely not long at all, especially when you build cooldown, and his late game is definitely really good. So in general, I would definitely put him in a B tier. I personally don't struggle with him at all. I barely even see him. I'll probably go in the end through the list again and tell you who you probably will never see. Like, I can't even remember the last time I versed, I don't know, Persephone or Oleron. I don't think I've ever versed an Oleron in mid. Discordia, she's an interesting one, definitely. I think she used to be more broken. So damage, her damage is definitely there. Her stun and then into her ball and then small balls. It's really good damage. And mobility, she can escape into her 3 and she goes invisible and lowers her cooldowns. Sustainability 0, no built-in healing, no nothing. No mana regen, no nothing. Early game, it's not on the bad side, but again, I just feel like Discordia, especially with a lot of the games I play, that's why you rarely see her, is she's just so easy to snowball that once she's kind of used her stun and stuff to wave clear, unlike Baron, you know, he uses it, but then he's got his 3 to root you, or he's got his 2 to heal himself, which Discordia unfortunately does not. And even Anubis, Chang'e, they all have that sustainability to heal them, which Discordia does not, so sustainability is definitely not good, which makes her early game not good. Again, like a C tier early game, until she even like actually no, just in general she's not that good. Her ult is, unless you're stood, I don't know, kissing the enemy's face or whatever, you're not gonna hit your ult, and it's just I sometimes just stand there. It's a bit like Yanis ult. You stare at it, and then you know, after like 5 years, you've had your cup of tea or whatever, you move to the right and she misses it. So yeah, really bad, really bad. If you're in a team fight, it'll be a lot better to hit her ult, or if you're in a closer proximity of the enemy, you're in like a jungle or something, you're having a team fight, and you can hit the enemy, and then obviously that'll create a radius, and then when that explodes, that'll hit other enemies as well. So it's really good in terms of that, but overall, I'd say she's probably not the best. I'm actually considering putting her in a C tier, but again, I'll put her in a C plus, cause she's definitely better than Aphrodite, but she's probably in the B tier, yeah. Team fight is good, and team fight damage is good. But in terms of her actual abilities, I'd say she's not the best. So I'm gonna say she's a C plus. I'm pretty sure Cronus could be here really easily. And Outpush, like yeah, not to mention her mobility, her escape basically tells you where she is, and if she leaves it, then she's pretty much dead anyway. I'm actually gonna like, her passive is good. It gives whoever has the most damage, which a lot of the time is not the Discordia. A lot of the time when I have a Discordia and I'm playing someone else, I usually have it. So I'll leave her in B tier for now, but if I find someone who's just in B tier and way better than Discordia, I'll move her to C tier. Next up, we have Freya, which I don't even think I've seen a Freya in Season 8. I don't know what they've done with her, but they've just changed her so many times that at this point I don't even know people can even be bothered to play her. Is it because she's too OP? I am not sure. But I'm pretty sure she's got that, yeah, magical lifesteal. Becomes ranged and attack. I think in general she's a B tier. I'm not going to go through too much detail with Freya just because rarely anyone plays her. But I'll just quickly go through it. So damage, she definitely has the damage. Mobility, she's got her ult to fly away. But again, why would you want to use the ult to fly away? You probably most of the time you want to use it aggressively. You can banish the enemy, which helps you run away. Sustainability, she's got plenty of that. She's probably an S tier in terms of that. Early game, she's okay in early game. She's more dangerous late game, I'd say. Her early game is not too good. Team fight, yeah, I'd say she's more of an ADC, not really a mid laner. Team fight, she's good, but she'll pick, again, one person off at a time. She doesn't have AoE stuff like mages should. So I think team fight, again, she's not that good. I will put her in a B tier just because of you build her attack speed, you build lifesteal on her, and then she just keeps on the left click and she basically wrecks everyone. A bit like Cronus, her late game basically. Hebel, that's a tough one. I've not seen a Hebel either in Season 8 now that I think about it, but he's basically a Vulcan but not as good. So damage, Hebel has plenty of damage. He's got S tier damage, I'd say. Mobility, he's got his carpet for moving faster. Sustainability, he has none of it. Early game, his cooldowns are probably the best in the game in terms of early game. So I'd say he's got the early game. Team fight, he's really good. I am going to have to put Hebel in an A tier. Just because the only bad thing about him is stuff like Like, so you can spam his one, but one of the things that I say makes Vulcan better is they both have a 3 does like a circular damage. Vulcan can move while doing it. Hebel can't. That's why I think Vulcan's better. Not to mention Vulcan as a turret. That's basically an extra god. But yeah, I'd say he's A tier. He's overall good. Hell. Hell is... that's a difficult one. Damage, she definitely has damage. Not on the top, I don't know, A, S tier. She's definitely a B or lower. Just because she's got that burst, but not really, because she only has 2 damaging abilities, which is a 1 on her 3. Well, technically 3 in her heal stance, but that's a lot more difficult to hit than her dark stance. So damage is there, but again, not really high tier. Mobility, she does get movement speed from her 3, not to mention that she can become CC immune with her light stance 2. So mobility is kind of there, but not like an escape. Sustainability, obviously she has sustainability, she heals herself. Early game, her early game is good in terms of sustainability, terrible in terms of mana, unless you have like that new star item, the sun time thing. That basically gives you MP5, but a lot of the time early game you will just struggle with mana and doing stuff because you don't have enough mana. So definitely her early game is not the best, which is a lot of the time you have to realize that in Conquest you have 1 ability to start off with, and then 2, and then 3, and the last thing you want to be doing is struggling with mana and struggling with wave clear, which I think she doesn't have the best of. And you want to be spamming abilities with Hell, so until mid game to late game, there's not going to be the most you can do with the Hell. But moreover, she's more of a solo laner / support, I'd say. Not much of a mid laner, so I would probably put her down with Aphrodite. They're more support. I feel like with Hell, it's unless you're like, see, Hell is one of those people that you have to be really, really good, you know, hit your 3, chain stance, hit your 1, chain stance, hit your 1, heal yourself, do your 3, but in terms of overall, that's going to be happening late game. Early game, you're not going to have the cooldown to do that, you're not going to have the mana to do that, and you're not even going to have enough damage, so it's not even really going to matter. And I've killed Hell too easily, if I'm honest. And I think everyone in B tier would have no issue with her either. So that's why I'm going to put her in C tier. Sorry if you guys disagree, but that's just my opinion. Hera is one of the only gods that I feel like I don't play her, but she is so good. I feel like I'm going to have to put her in S tier just because, yeah, I think she's in S tier. So damage, she does crazy damage. It's just annoying. Mobility, she does get some movement speed with her little shield, but that is about it really. She doesn't really get movement speed. She's got Argus body blocking for her, which is really annoying. So mobility, yeah, she does get some movement speed, but it's definitely not like a A/S tier / even B tier. Early game, yeah, I'd say she's got a really good early game. She's got really good wave clear. She's got her transfiguration thing that just transforms you for like 5 years, which is really annoying. But yeah, her early game is definitely like a A/B tier. Actually, I'll say an A tier, not B. Team fight, amazing in team fights. Argus basically body blocks everything and lands and knocks you up, and while you're too busy hitting Argus, she'll just send a load of damage from behind and turn you into a little flying eagle, and then kill you. And when you decide to actually attack her, she'll just put shield on, so she just escape with full health, or at least half. So team fights really good. Basically makes it a 6v5. But if you're against a Vulcan, then it's 6v6 because Tori is a god as well. Team fight's really good. Cooldown, it feels like a cooldown are fairly low. Her late game is crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put in S tier. Definitely like. So I play Baron. I put him in S tier. I struggle so much against Hera, so that's why she's in S tier. Yeah, I think self-explanatory. Isis, that is a difficult one. Or should I say Egyptian goddess of whatever. Yeah, no, she's good. She's definitely good. Damage, yeah, she has a lot of damage. If she hits her ball to stun you, and then does her wing flapping and attacks you with that. Her silence slow is really annoying. So her damage is definitely there. Her mobility is really good. It's really hard to hit her when she's, doing her four balls or whatever it is, and she can damage you and just fly around. And it's definitely decent mobility, and she can use it to escape as well. But she doesn't necessarily have like an escape. So that's kind of her downfall. So yeah, her mobility is okay. Sustainability, yeah, definitely not too bad. Her ult heals her. Obviously, you don't want to be spamming your ult to heal, but it's definitely like decent, I'd say. So sustainability is okay. She needs to probably get lifesteal, but she doesn't have built-in healing. Other than her ult, which obviously, like I said, you're not going to be stood under tower, and then I'm going to ult to heal myself. You probably want to use it more aggressively. Early game, yeah, I think her early game is good. Her wave clear is definitely decent. Not as fast as you'd want it to be, like a Baron or whatever, but nevertheless, the wave clear is there. And her early game stun into her, four little balls is really annoying as well. Team fights definitely really good. Her ult is really good for team fights, both for damaging the enemy and healing your team. It's really good when you just fight, when there's a team fight and you just put your ult down and then you fight in that, and then you basically like pop off and you kill the whole enemy team and finish off with full health. So team fight potential is really good, not to mention the stunning and the silencing. Overall, I think she's really good, and surprisingly, yes, I'm going to put her in A tier just because her whole kit combined is really good. So definitely an A tier for me. I do actually struggle quite a bit with her. Yanis. Difficult one. I've just beat him really easily, that's the only thing. When I'm like a Baron or whatever. Or even Sol. I destroyed Yanis today with Sol. Damage. He has the damage. But again, he has basically, like, he's not going to spam his ults. He has two damaging abilities. His portal is not the easiest to hit. Number one thing that's wrong with him. Number two, his 2 goes in like a wiggly whatever, which is kind of dead. So his damage is there, but the only difficulty is hitting it. Mobility is decent, yeah. I'd say it's pretty good. You can just go through walls. The only problem is when you're not next to a wall, then you're kind of screwed. Sustainability 0 because he doesn't have any built-in healing. Early game is okay. So his 2 is good for wave clear, but it only really starts doing a lot more damage mid to late game. And his early game in terms of hitting his portal. So if you want to damage the enemy, you gotta get them to fall in your portal, which is not the easiest thing to hit. And when you do hit it, then it's really good. But if you don't, then you're kind of just wasting mana. So his early game, I wouldn't rate the best. He pretty much just has his 2, which even then goes in like a wiggly line. So yeah, I wouldn't say Yanis' early game is the best. I find it really easy to kill him, especially when I'm playing Baron. So yeah, I'd say his early game is pretty poor. Team fight though is where I say is his strong point. So late game, his 3 can be used to slow the enemy, which is really good. His 2 does a lot of damage late game, so when there's a group of fight going on or whatever, you can use your 2 to damage a lot of enemies, which is really good. And his 1 also can also be used to disrupt enemy fights, to make people fall in the portal, and then they're pretty much dead after that. And not to mention that his ult is really, really good for team fights, where you can just pretty much shoot it across the map, use it to get to fights or get away from fights, and also help your allies escape from team fights, basically. So in terms of team fight, yeah, Yanis is really good. Overall, his cooldowns are fairly low. His late game is good, but I think overall he is really easy to kill, which is basically his weak point, which is why I'm going to put him in B tier. Not as bad as C tier though. Next up we got Kuku Khan. His damage is very, very good. His tornado damage is crazy. Like once you step in that, you're pretty much half health or even lower. His mobility, his 2 does give him mobility to move around and make him slow immune for like 0.6 seconds or something. But getting away or something, I do struggle sometimes if I'm playing like jungle reaching him when he has got his 2 or hitting him in general, because you know he moves all over the place. So the movement speed is definitely good for mobility, but he doesn't necessarily have like a straight up escape, like a teleport or something like Merlin or Agni. So in that sense of mobility, it's not the best. Sustainability, he doesn't have anything that gives him mana. If anything, is pretty bad, because he doesn't have anything built in that heals him, and he's a very heavy mana using character, so he doesn't have any form of sustaining mana until he like fully stacks Book of Thoth. So definitely that makes him early game weak, because he does have to back fairly regularly unless he has lots of mana pots or lots of MP5, which makes sustainability not that good. And then again, when he does run out of mana, it makes a perfect opportunity to actually go in and get really aggressive and basically kill him. So yeah, I wouldn't say sustainability is the best, but in terms of early game, even though sustainability is not the best, his wave clear is still really good with his tornadoes, so he does have that. Team fights is really good if you ask me. Team fights is really good if you ask me, because firstly his ult just does so much damage, knocks people up as well, so it can disrupt guardians and stuff as well. And solo laners as well by knocking them up, and then you know the rest of the team can fight them. Your tornado, if you put it down in like a grouped up place, it'll do a lot of damage to them. You can use your speed buff or your second ability basically to escape fights, and then your Zephyr, your number 1, is really good for slowing the enemy and attacking them. But yeah, in general his kit is really good, especially if you get a gem, then you put your tornado down, it will slow the enemy down, and yeah, it'll just help your team fight them basically. Overall, I'd say he's a decent character. You rarely see him in Season 8 right now, but I think I'd put him in beta in general. Next up we have Merlin, which is a very difficult one, because he definitely has the damage, there's no doubt, there's no question about that. His damage is insane, so that's why I'd say he's got A+ tier damage. Not to mention, I think he has 2 abilities in the beginning, just because he can switch, you know, stances and do more damage. Mobility, one of the best in the game, he just teleports. Sustainability, he doesn't have any built-in healing, and his mana usage is quite high actually, especially when he's switching stances and using like twice the amount of abilities. So sustainability is not the best. His early game though, however, is good, because at level 1 I'm pretty sure he has 2 abilities, because he can switch stance and do twice the amount of damage basically. And in team fights is really good. His pull in his dark stance is really good for pulling enemies in. Ice stance really good for slowing people down. Fire stance for just doing a lot of damage. So in general it's just really good in team fights. A lot of burst damage. So overall I want to put him in S tier, but I don't think he's quite there. I'm going to put him in A tier for now, but I think he's, you know, probably an A+ tier. Yeah, I think the best position to put him is A+. And I think maybe if you play him really, really well, he's S tier, but most of the time I'd say he's between S and A, so I'll put him at an A+. Nox. Nox is very meh. Nox is definitely not one of the top tiers. So her damage is there if you can hit it. The thing is, if I just spoke in terms of, you know, the best player of each of these, of course all of them would be S tier. But speaking in general terms, you have to get the enemy in your silence and then actually root them in the silence to do that burst damage, which is a lot when you do it, but difficult to hit. So I put it like a S tier damage, but B/C tier in terms of people that actually do it. Mobility, she's got a dash, which is again pretty good for both offensive and defensive. Sustainability, she doesn't really have any of it. Early game, her wave clear is definitely good, but her early game is really good when you manage to actually hit her stuff, and if you don't, then you're kind of screwed early game, because once you do your silence and your root and you miss it, you dash away, and I think that just makes it pretty bad. Team fight potential is really, really good, A tier team fight potential, but I think overall I would put her in C tier, just because once she's done, she's kind of just in the background watching, and it's just not good. Not good. Unless she like combos with someone. On her own in mid lane, she's not the best. Noir. That's a tough one. Just because I find it really easy to fight Nuwa. Her late game is really good. So damage is definitely there, really really good damage, especially her burst when she puts her little minions and then shoots her little ball and explodes them. So damage is definitely there. Mobility, she does get movement speed, I believe, in her little circle, but it's nothing, you know, crazy. Sustainability, nothing. Early game, I don't think her early game is good at all, because I've seen new wars and their wave clear is terrible. Until they get their minions and then like a good leveling and good damage to explode them and do something properly. A lot of the time they're just using their ball or their little carpet circle thing, and it doesn't do the most damage. And it's again against using it against someone, it's pretty easy to dodge. So yeah, I don't think her early game is the best. Her team fight potential, I think, is a lot better, which is where she comes into a B tier, I'd say. When you're just fighting, putting your minions out, whether it's using it in a team fight to tank the tower, stunning like 1, 2, 3 enemies with exploding her minions, it's really good. Using her little carpet to apply anti-heal if you do have it, again, is really good. Her basics can root people, which is really good. Cooldowns aren't too long, so yeah, her late game is decent, so that's why I'd put her in a B tier. She probably, yeah, I think most cards are going to be in B tier. Oleron, I will say similar to Cronus. His damage is really good. His mobility is not the best. Does he even have any mobility? He doesn't really have any. Sustainability good. He does have a built-in heal. Early game, no, his early game is not good. Team fight potential really really good. He can just slow down the enemies. You just put that down and you basically just win that team fight, which makes him a B tier. But yeah, that's pretty much self-explanatory. He's an ADC god, pretty much. You probably see him in carry or solo a lot of the time. You don't really see him in mid as much as you should. So that's why he is a B tier. Persephone, that is a tough one. So I've not seen a lot of Persephone in Season 8, but I did see quite a lot of her in Season 7. And I do have to say that her damage is definitely there. If you know how to play Persephone, she is really, really, really good. And she does crazy damage, and it's really annoying fighting her with her little plants down, and they come bite you and they do a lot of damage. Mobility, she has the escape. Sustainability, she has the heal. Early game, definitely decent damage. Team fight potential, really good. I'm gonna have to put her in A tier. Overall, she just has a bit of everything, really, and her ult is really, really good for team fights. Ability just locks you in or roots you to it, and that's basically the end of you. So that's why she's going to be in A tier. Poseidon, again, Poseidon I've not seen a lot of in Season 8, but I think definitely, yeah, he is on the top end of gods. His damage is crazy. His ult, I don't know why, does 1 billion damage at level 0, level 1. Yeah, that's right. He has his ult at level 1 and it does like 5 billion damage. So, damage is definitely there. Mobility, really good. His passive gives him movement speed, and his 2 gives him movement speed. And his 3 slows people. So, I'd say his mobility is definitely top notch. Sustainability doesn't really have that built in again. Early game, I'd say until level 5, like his ult does a lot of damage, but I've played him a bit in Season 8 and it just doesn't feel like his abilities do as much damage as they should. Like, I was playing it and his 3-in-1 combo don't do the most damage. So I'd just say in terms of early game is not the best. Late game he does plenty of damage. Team fights he's really good. He's got his ult just to end people. But I think overall, compared to A tiers, he's definitely going to be a B tier. Late game is good, but overall, I don't think you could take on the A tiers. Never mind the S tiers. Raw, again, like Raw's damage is really good, but I think overall, in terms of his abilities, his 1 is a straight line. Unless you're like the best Raw player in the world, that's not too hard to dodge. His 2. Again, it's okay. It does a lot of damage when he does a combo together. His 3 is good when it's offensive, and it's really good for healing as well. So mobility is really good because his passive gives him movement speed. Linking the 3 that I just mentioned to his sustainability, it heals him, so again it's really good. Early game, his wave clear isn't too bad early game if I'm honest. Obviously you start with his 1 at level 1. And he's got his heal, so his early game is decent, yes. Team fights, his ult, unless you can hit it, it's not the easiest thing. It's just like one straight line, just like his 1 is. So his main role in team fight will be, you know, getting the damage in where you can. If you're really good at hitting your ult, then hit your ult and basically kill the enemy. And yeah, basically heal your team with your 3. And that's the role that he plays, which I feel like that's what would put him in a B+. And his cooldowns aren't that too long either, so I just probably put him in a B tier. Just because he doesn't really reach the A level, A tier level. Raijin is definitely, I think, it's a tough one between A and B. So his damage is crazy damage, especially late game. His wave clear, obviously putting his little electric thing on the wave and then doing his 1. Really good. His mobility basically has a teleport. Sustainability, he doesn't have any built in. Early game, yeah, with the use of his electric thing, which is his 2, and then his 1, really good early game to clear the wave, and it's annoying when it, you know, pokes the enemy mage as well. So his early game is good. His team fight is really, really good. His ultimate, you can, I think it's fear enemies. Yeah, fear them or whatever. When if they're running away, then they start running towards you instead. So that is really, really good for team fights, I have to say. And yeah, just if you throw his little electric thing into a team fight and then use your 1, that thing will just like fly everywhere and just infect everyone with his electric whatever. And I think that applies as slow as well. And then he does like 4 or 5 drums, I think, of his ultimate, and then that's like a pretty big circle that goes forward and damages a lot of enemies, which is really good. And if they're running away, then you just fear or taunt them back into, I think it's taunt, yeah, taunt. Taunt them back into your thing, and yeah, basically your team kills them. So I think I will, for that reason, put him in A tier, because he does again have a bit of everything. Scylla, A tier. Not even a question. Damage, Scylla, a lot. Mobility, she can just go wherever she wants. Sustainability, she doesn't really need it. Like, yeah, she can just build lifesteal. But her damage is just crazy. Early game, really, really good. As soon as she hits level 2, she just has a 1 and 2. She probably has one of the best early games in the game. Team fights, really, really good. So I think she just covers all of them. The only reason I'm not putting her in S tier... Why am I not putting her in S tier? She can escape, she can do the damage. Yeah, no, I'll put her in... that's a tough one. I think she's an A+. Again, see, I'm like discussing it with you guys, and I'm making the tier list as I go along. This is a tough one. She's an S tier, but I think she's an A+. But for the sake of this video, because like she does a lot. Nah, put her in S tier, definitely. Her 2 does way too much damage. I don't know. Actually, yeah, I just remembered how much damage the 2 does. So S tier. Sol, my second main, or should I say first main, and then Baron is second. In my opinion, she is the best mid god in the game, and I'm gonna say that with confidence. Watch my videos, I play her, I show you why she's broken. I made a guide on Sol as well, to say why she's so good and how you should play her. Basically, damage, crazy damage, crazy damage. Mobility, her 3 gives her really nice movement speed and then makes her immune to everything, basically. Good mobility. Sustainability, crazy sustainability. You get your death toll, you get some lifesteal like first tier, you got your 1 for healing, amazing sustainability. Early game, crazy. The reason I think she's the best, first of all, she has the best early game, because once her passive goes off, you're just doing crazy damage, and you're like, I'm level 1 or level 2 or level 3, and I'm doing this much damage. Yeah, because your passive is broken. Team fight's really good. Her 2 is really good for just area damage. Her 1 is good for healing during a team fight. Her 3 is really good for escaping, but even then, like if there's a team fight and there's like 3-4 people fighting, I'll just use my 3 and just run past them, because I'm gonna say this now on this tier list. I don't know why, but 95% of people don't realize that Sol's 3 does damage. I'll be running away from someone and they'll just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna catch them, and then they run through the 3 and they take like 1,000 damage and then they die. I'm like, what are you doing? And the amount of people that don't know that sorcery does damage is crazy, and it's just really good using it offensively as well, which not a lot of people do. And when I do it, then people are like, oh my god, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So Sol, S tier in terms of team fights. Overall, cooldowns are decent, but mainly you're going to be doing basic attacks anyway, which does a lot of damage. So yeah, watch my videos on Sol. It'll show you that she's S tier. Easy S tier. Morrigan, A. Number 1, her burst is really good in terms of damage. Mobility, she can become invisible. Sustainability, nothing built in, but she can just become someone really and heal herself, I guess. Early game, it is really good, I have to say. Her wave clear isn't too bad. Her burst is really good for stunning someone and then doing a slash, and then her AoE auto attacks as well. After every certain number of auto attacks is really good as well. Team fights, not only is it good for stunning and then hitting them, distracting the enemy, escaping, going round the back and attacking them, but also becoming probably like the strongest god in the game in a team fight, and then doing your ultimate or whatever and basically finishing the enemy team. So really good in that sense. And overall, yeah, she's an 80. I think it's self-explanatory as well. Thoth, that's a difficult one. I think so. Damage, he has a lot of damage, just whether you can hit it or not, that's the question. So damage is definitely there. Mobility, he has his dash, which he can dash through his little carpet wall and go really far. Sustainability, he doesn't have any, but probably gets lifesteal. No built-in sustainability though. Early game, his early game is decent. Once he gets his little carpet and his first abilities, basically, his early game isn't too bad. His wave clear is really good. Really good poke early game as well. Team fight's really good for doing his ult. Putting your carpet down for your ADC to auto-attack through that as well, which a lot of people don't actually do. But I think the main thing that makes him good in team fights is he just puts his carpet down and he can just fight from like a distance, which is really good, because he doesn't take too much damage and he basically sits in base and attacks the enemy from there, because that's how it feels like. So this is a tough one. I think I'd put him in like a B plus tier, but as there's no B plus, I don't think he's as good as A tier. So I think once he's used his escape, he's just really easy to kill. So that's why I'm going to put him in a B tier. Vulcan, my first god well, my most played god, should I say? Yeah, Vulcan is probably my third mid character. So I guess I have 4, which 2 are left. Sol is my main, Baron is my second, Vulcan is my third, Zhongqui is my fourth. So Vulcan I will put in S tier. First reason Vulcan is in S tier, damage is insane. His turret, one of the reasons his turret is broken because that's penetration. But after you hit someone with your 1 and then your turret hits them early game, it is just really good damage. His poking with his 3 is really, really good. And if for a team fight, his ultimate is really good. So damage, he's got more than enough damage. Mobility, he doesn't really have mobility, but using his 1 to, I don't know, dodge things, once you have cooldown and you use it tactically, his 1 is really good for moving around. I wouldn't say he's got escape level mobility, but his mobility is not too bad with his 1. You can use it to either face backwards, dash forwards to the enemy, or just use it to dodge something in general and use your 1 and move backwards. I do it with like Hercules pull or whatever really, and you can just use it to move. Sustainability doesn't really have anything built in. Early game, definitely one of the better early games, just like Baron. Putting your 2 down, using your 3 and 1 to clear the wave is just really good. So early game is definitely good, and team fights is insane. Putting your turret down basically makes it so there's like a 6th god. and it's the 6v5, and his turret does a lot of damage. The amount of times I get like a double, triple kill, and I'm like, I didn't even get any of those kills because it was all my turret. So team fight, and then obviously if they're fighting and you just go a bit back and do your ult, or if someone's escaping and you just kill them, it's really good team fight potential. Cooldowns aren't that long definitely, so you just spam your 3-in-1, and yeah, his late game is just crazy. Zeus, that's a tough one. The problem with Zeus, my main problem with Zeus is his mobility. So his damage is definitely there. He has a lot of damage. His mobility is E rank, it's F rank if I'm 100% honest. I tried him out a couple times and it's just like, he's so slow and easy to catch that if someone stuns you or whatever, and you don't even have enough time to get your 2-1 off, and if you get your 2-1 off, you're dead before you get your 3 off, which is why I'm going to put him in C rank. Just because a lot of the time you can't even detonate because you're just dead before then, you can't escape. So he doesn't have any mobility, he has really good damage, he doesn't have any sustainability, his early game is pretty bad because his cooldowns are really long. His teamfight potential is really good, 80 I'd say, when he puts his ultimate down. But overall, I don't think he's too good. And then Zhongqui. He's my 4th mid character, so those are my 4 basically. Damage, more than enough damage. Mobility, he has like no mobility, but a lot of the time, because his passive gives him protections, he just, you know, he can survive for a long time. His ult gives him some mobility, it makes him like knock up immune and whatnot. But in general, he doesn't really have any mobility. Sustainability is really good. He can heal using his 1 and then 2, which is just really good for staying in lane and whatnot. You just get a load of mana pots really, an MP5, and you can just heal. Not to mention if you build lifesteal, then that's really good as well. And his early game is really, really good. Once you get your 1 and 2 and 3, and you know your first item, you probably have instant wave clear. And his early game in terms of using his 1 as poke is really good. Like the amount of times I just gotten a kill because that lasts 5 seconds I think, and it ticks every second for 5 seconds. So that's basically 5 ticks. And it's just really good for slowing down enemies and just damaging them, and then bursting them with using your 2 as well. So his early game is really good. And then finally, the thing that makes him S-tier is his team fight. So firstly, I can really easily team fight 3v1. So I've done 3v1s where I've killed 2 of them and the last one just got away, or I've killed all 3 of them, or I've killed 1 and the other 2 got away because it was so low. But the thing that makes him really, really good in a team fight, firstly, is when he pops his ult, his protections double. So if he has, I think, 40 from his pouch, he gets 80. Or I'm not sure if that doubles his current protections. We'll just have a quick check on that before I give any false information. They change. Zhongqui is immune to knockback. I'm sure it used to double. 80. There, when Recall Demons is activated, gains double the protection. Yeah, so you get 80. And yeah, when you're in a team fight, you just activate your ult, you get really tanky, you just start damaging the enemy, you do your 1, you do your 3, and that is why I can get easy triple kills, quadra kills, because you're really tanky, and you get a gem on him as well, so you're just slowing them down, and your 1 slows them down even more, so it's like 40% slow, and your burst with your 2 is really good, and your 3 just stuns them, and overall, team fight is amazing, and his damage is crazy, so I think that's why he's definitely in S tier. I don't think I've released a Zhongqui video. I have released how to play him, that was for season 1, but I'm looking to record a video and release a video of why Zhongqui is really OP, and then show you guys that as well. But I think that's everyone. That is the tier list. I'll probably put in the description below what time I'm got the whole tier list up. But yeah, that is my final tier list. I'll go through some gods that you'll probably never see. Hebel, rarely see. Persephone, you rarely see. Raijin, you rarely see. Ra, Aokwang, Agni, Cronus, Freya, Oleron, Poseidon, Thoth, Hel, Aphrodite, Nox, Zeus, Aokwang. So like over 50% of them you rarely see in mid. But definitely those S tiers are the best 6 gods in my opinion in mid lane. A tier are not far behind, but I just think S tiers just have that certain edge that A tiers do not. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. If you have any opinions on this, I am open for suggestions. In the comments below. If you think, I don't know, oh, Alpha should be A or Anubis should be S tier, you know, just put it in the comments below and tell me why you think that is, and then I can make an updated one maybe halfway through season 8 and take those opinions into account. But again, this is my opinion from versing and whatever. Pretty much everyone I put in B tier I beat really easily with Baron or Sol mainly, and yeah, I don't think they're much of a challenge. So yeah, thank you for watching. Any comments, leave it in the description below. If you did like the tier list, leave a like video. If there's any of these gods like an S tier you want me to make a guide for Vulcan or Baron or whatever, or you want me to show you how he's OP, then leave them comments below. You can check out my other videos as well where I show some of these gods like Baron, Sol, Vulcan, why they're so OP. You can check those videos out. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.